Well, bonjour, Madame et Messieurs. Je suis tout honorée d'être
Good morning. I'm very honored to be here.
afraid. I'm Italian by origin, as my name states, is Alex Valsecchi, but I've been in England for nearly half of my life. And I'm here to bring you something probably a bit unusual. Viticulture in UK is a nonsense. It's still a nonsense, but we're fighting through and we're making it a successful business. So I'm taking you through what has been my journey in these 25 years of growing vines all throughout Europe, and not just Europe. After specializing in Milan in fruit culture and viticulture, you get absorbed by science and you think everything has got to have a systematic approach to life. I moved then to UK, where I worked for a worldwide organization called the Royal Horticultural Society, and there I had the chance to embrace more of organic growing and organic practice. Whilst there, I traveled around the globe. I went to New Zealand, emerging country in viticulture, and understood how things should be actually done a bit better. For then completing my career, and I hope I will still be at Albury for a little while longer, although my hands start to suffer years of pruning, so early retirement might come on the scene. But we believe we might have achieved something called harmony, but we'll see to that. So once you come out of university and you have science in your head, everything you think is to do things in a systematic approach, because it's much easier. It's much easier. You treat everything like the same, and you grow things in line to start with, not just because they look neat and tidy, but it is easy to operate in lines. And you treat the first vine of the first row like the last one of the last row. Nevertheless, they're probably not the same in their development. And you use broad-spectrum chemicals because, again, it makes life easy, especially when you have to deal with a field as large as the big estate of vines in the top left-hand corner. And time is money at the end of the day. So money is a big factor involved in what we do, and it will always be, I do believe. Also, you work in a systematic approach, perhaps not in such a great extent like the big vineyard, but in smaller parcels of land, like the other two pictures, they actually represent the north of Italy. As you know about our topography in the north of Italy, extremely hard, harsh to grow. So farmers always looked at an easy way to fight solution. And chemicals were the easy way to fight solution, because it's already blaming hard to try to work on these slopes, nevertheless have to fuss around with things. When I came to England, I was at the RHS Wisley for 10 years. Wisley as an organisation is to be seen, the RHS as an organisation has to be seen as a charitable society, but its main aims are education, and is education for the professional as well as for the amateurs, so everybody around us, the consumers as such. Is also innovation, so they look at it, innovative techniques on how to do things better. And its main fundamentally is conserve what we have, generally under the point of view of the diversity that the horticultural world offers in terms of varieties, in terms of cultivars. And there we planted this little vineyard that you saw in the previous slide with the idea of showing the public and the growers that you could actually grow vines, believe it or not, in UK, despite the climatic condition, and you could do it in an organic way. And the best things to do is obviously starting with disease-resistant variety. And this is where genetic comes into place. Disease-resistant variety can come by nature or can come by hybridization, or because we have been helping them to achieve this resistance. And integrate pest management followed to that. Obviously, there were directives established in 2009, but Wisley and the RHS were already adopting the integrate pest management long before that. Whilst at Wisley, I had the chance to explore the world of alternative products, and biological control was up there with many other forms, but we use biological control in all sorts of crops, not just the vines. We use biological control in greenhouses for strawberries under protection. So two of the big pests of strawberries are red spider mites and thrips, and aphids also I include on this, so three of them. And these pests, they have the ability of producing several generations through a year, and therefore become resistant to pretty much any product that you try to spray on them. So they have this power, and the only way to really fight them or keep them under control is to introduce a pest for them. And this is where Biocontrol was, gave extraordinary results, both undercover and in the open. Also, we experimented biological control on apples. Apples suffer of several pests. The big part of the pest is probably underlined with the word of moths, so all the Tortrix line, and with the combination of trapping, so monitoring, and the use of the biological control called Bacillus thuringiensis, which has been on the scene for quite a long time. This is a predator that basically kill the caterpillar form of the moth. And to be honest with you, it probably kills them in quite a pretty brutal way, because the moth feeds on the greenery. The bacillus entered the stomach of the moth and just killed the moth from the caterpillar from inside out. Now, I'd probably be rather much sprayed off with some kind of insecticide and collapse straight away, you know, going through some torture. But it's definitely better for the rest of the environment using Bacillus thuringiensis, the organophosphate. By the end of my life at Wisley, we had cut down dramatically in the use of insecticide. I think we were almost down to probably one application a year, which is quite successful when you think you're dealing with a collection of apples, not just an orchard or maybe 2 or 3 varieties. With the vines, we had obviously planted disease-resistant varieties, so we didn't have the issue of the worry of the main diseases, which are obviously powdery and downy mildew and botrytis. But botrytis was not part of the resistance of the variety, so we had to start to use biological control for that. And with that, we used Bacillus subtilis. Whilst there, I went through to New Zealand, and I really found that there everything is a bit more harmonious. It's harmonious because they haven't been bombarding their land with pesticide like perhaps we've done in Europe, and they've used our mistake to improve their growing techniques and focusing more on how we can all survive together. So companion planting to attract beneficial insects. New Zealand is one of the best ground to trial new biological control. The great study on trichoderma is coming from them. I finally arrived at Albury, and that's where I've been for the last 10 years. Albury is one of 600 vineyards in the UK, and we're all mad because you're thinking vines are plants that were designed in the Mediterranean, they enjoy being in the sunshine, and what we got is the grey sky of London. So how can you grow successfully these crops? Well, you have to let them be in their own environment, yes, but if you let nature take a course, so we're not growing anymore a monoculture of vines, but we grow a multiple culture where we use other plants to support the vines. So we embrace biodynamic, which for you probably doesn't mean very much, but for the ones that they don't know what biodynamic means, is a little bit like a homeopathic remedy with plants for plants. So we use plant extract to supply the vines with nutrient, and we allow anything else that is not a vine to grow amongst the vines because they can be so beneficial for the vines. And I'm not just mean just the pretty insects that are represented in the pictures, so all the ladybirds, the butterflies, and so on. When I'm talking about beneficial, I'm talking about beneficial at soil level, because if your roots are solid, then the plant is stronger, and a stronger plant can fight off disease much better. So we're focusing a lot in improving soil, in improving the microorganisms in the soil, all these symbiotic fungi that they live with the root system, and they support the root system, and therefore the whole of the plant. But that, of course, is not enough. There are big problems in growing vines in a very humid country. Powdery and downy mildew, but botrytis is the greatest problem. So they rot onto the fruit, where the picture might not show, but they look quite clean fruit. And we've always been delivering clean fruit because we used the Bacillus subtilis as the main form of biological control against botrytis. And if we can do it, I do believe that even my fellow colleagues that they just work with conventional product, they can do it. Now, Biodynamic also involves a lot of working with the moon phases. And yes, I will continue to dance once the full moon naked around the vines to catch the bad spirits, but the rest has to come to you, from you. The support has to come from you. They invest in this business to give us more tools to fight problems that otherwise we probably overtake the final result of enjoying a nice bottle of wine. Not just the full moon, but hopefully in the sunshine. Thank you very much, and I hope I've been quick and sharp.
Thank you, Alex. For a Spaniard, seeing how wine is growing and good wine is growing
Thank you.
in the United Kingdom is really a challenge. And, well, it's life and it's climate change perhaps also.